All right, we are back with Root Source and Avi Lipkin. I'm Bob Odell, privileged to be interviewing you. And in the last segment, boy, you had some nice things to say about Trump and what happened on his recent trip to Israel. Now that that trip is just concluded, I want to ask you what concerns you most about Trump and Israel.
Okay, I don't want to date this program, but in today's news, Secretary of State Tillerson came out reputedly saying that when he was here with President Trump in Israel, much pressure was made to bear on both Prime Minister Netanyahu and also on Abu Mazen, to make concessions.
And that statement was sort of the tone of that statement was, and that's the way it should be.
Right.
Correct? From Rex Tillerson, from our Secretary of State?
Well, from an American perspective, from the perspective of a rational, normal human being, it's the correct thing. And Tillerson is rational.
Put pressure on people to make a deal. Right?
Yeah, let's do the deal. Let's get this over with. You know, the problem is, let me put it like this. Let's say you're President Trump. Let's say I'm Netanyahu. And our advisors come over and say, let's go to this insane asylum and cut a multi-billion-dollar deal with the guy who's fabulously rich. He has all the oil wells of the Middle East. And all he has to do is sign on. Will there be a peace process? There won't be.
No.
Because the guy's nuts.
Yeah.
And I don't want to repeat this ad nauseum, but I have to. The problem that we are facing with the Palestinian Authority, and I don't care if you call it Hamas or PLO or Al-Qaeda or Hezbollah or ISIS, all of these groups have a God called Allah. And this Allah wants to kill the Jews on Saturday, kill the Christians on Sunday, kill the Hindus, kill the Buddhists, kill every human being on the face of the earth. So obviously, Allah cannot be the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, a God who loves the Jews and loves the Christians and loves the pagans and loves all human beings. It's the opposite. It's a Satan God. And so the problem here is that Abu Mazen, Mahmoud Abbas, cannot sign any peace agreement with Israel whatsoever under any circumstances, because he will be dead the next day, because those who follow Allah will kill him.
So why did Trump say in this visit, I spoke with Abbas, and I am convinced that he wants peace. I'm convinced that we can have a deal.
The word in Arabic is taqiyya. Taqiyya means you lie to the infidel. In other words, Mahmoud Abbas lied to Trump. And, Tillerson said something.
And Trump doesn't realize this?
Wait a second.
Okay.
Tillerson said something very interesting before the trip. He says, Trump doesn't want to get into ideologies. I don't know if you remember when he said that.
Oh, okay.
So Trump is a businessman.
Yeah.
Yes, no. You want to know when Trump's going to recognize Jerusalem as the eternal capital of the Jewish people? And
When?
When the Palestinians carry out some really horrible, atrocious attack, or the Islamic world, all the agreements that they made with him get torn up by the Muslims.
Yes.
Then we will see President Trump say, okay, that's the way you want to do it. I know what I'm going to do.
Interesting.
And so I think that...
Interesting. That's a very interesting perspective.
Listen, President Trump was elected 6 months ago. He took office 4 months ago. His job right now is to make America great. The deal with Saudi Arabia is to make America great. He had to come to Israel, that's true. He had to meet with both the Israeli and Palestinian leaders. He had to meet with the Pope. All of that is the icing on the cake. The cake is the Saudi deal. And like I said in an earlier clip that we made, the debt of America has gone down 5% as a result of this trip to the Middle East. And I think that President Trump is going to have many more trips like this with other countries. I don't know if you remember also, I'm going off on a tangent for a second, but if I remember correctly, the United States was on the verge of World War III with Russia towards the end of the Obama administration. And Hillary was talking very rough about Russia.
Yes.
And I think it's better that, the United States get along well with Russia.
Yes.
Do we need a World War III?
No.
Should we have a World War III with China? So I think what President Trump is doing is he's setting up the dominoes. In other words, the first domino, get the Arabs straightened out, get this deal done, get the deal for the American industry, get jobs for America, make an alliance with the Arab world, at least those who say that they're going to be allies. I mean, they may be lying, but they're already now with America. And then Trump cannot fight the Russians, the Chinese, and the Muslims all at one time. So he's got to iron out the kinks with the Arabs and iron out the kinks with the Russians, iron out the kinks with the Chinese. We do not need World War III.
Now, he does seem to, speaking of Saudi Arabia and Israel, he does seem to have found a unifying proposition, which is stop Iran from achieving nuclear weapons. This is something the Saudis are behind. Of course, most of the Middle East is behind. But he's sort of thrown this wrench in, sort of this wild card, I guess is a better way to say it, about doing a peace deal with all of the with all of the parties involved, not just between the Palestinians and Israel. But I don't know. Where do you think that fits in? Is it real?
Listen. I don't want to use a slightly off-colored word, but you've heard of Tushy number one.
Yeah.
Every politician is worried about Tushy number one, which is their job. Abu Mazen is concerned about Tushy number one. He does not want to lose his life. Remember Sadat? Sadat was a great leader. He made peace with Israel. They killed him. And killing politicians in the Middle East is a tradition. It's been happening for thousands of years. It was also happening in the Byzantine Empire. It was happening in Rome.
Yes.
Abu Mazen cannot make a deal with Israel, period. Hamas cannot and will not make a deal with it. Nobody's going to make a deal with Israel. Even if we offer everything that we could possibly offer and our mothers, it still would never be accepted by them. So Iran, of course, we all agree about it, but I don't see the Palestinians surrendering 1 inch of what they consider their land in order to make some kind of global deal with the Iranians. Yesterday, I was, talking with Rachel about this whole thing, and she said to me that the president of Egypt, Sisi, it wasn't Sisi, it was one of the Egyptian news announcers, news broadcasters. My wife watches the Arabic TV. We have Egyptian TV. He's saying, when are the Israelis finally going to attack Iran? Come on, Israel, let's do it. That's exactly.
Really?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Really?
So the Egyptians, of course, there should be a Palestinian state, but we got to get rid of this Iranian regime. So that was the Egyptian. And the Saudis, I think the Saudis agree with that, but still the Saudis say that for peace to happen with Israel, Israel has to go back to the borders of June 5th, 1967, which is an impossibility. Okay,
so this brings me to my other big question about Trump's visit and negativity. He said, he spoke very clearly. After he said that Abbas wants a deal, I'm convinced of it. He said, now, both sides will need to make compromises here. How close is Trump coming to dividing the land in such a statement and bringing the wrath of God on him?
Okay, this indeed is something that we don't know what's really happening behind the scenes.
True.
Okay, a lot of this is for show, and it's like a whole bunch of peacocks wanting to show themselves off how much they know, and whether it was when there's already something agreed upon or something understood very clearly. I have a very, very horrible joke, but it's a very good joke to explain how I view the Palestinian leadership. Like, you want to make compromise. Again, you want to make compromises for a guy who's mentally ill in an insane asylum in order to close a deal with him when you know all along he's never going to sign a deal with you, no matter what you give him.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if Trump understands that or not. I think Netanyahu understands it. Could be they spoke about it, but they got to have this presence, They got to put on this show. I don't know if it's a show.
Right,
I don't know if we don't know if it's for real or if it's not. But the joke goes like this. There is this very nice kid, just graduated high school, very handsome, very intelligent, good grades. And everyone likes him. He's only got one little problem. He has a slingshot, and he has to break every window in town.
Okay.
He's got a problem.
Okay.
So they put him in an insane asylum. Because you can't go around with a slingshot breaking every window in town.
Right.
So after 2 years, he comes before a board of 3 doctors. They say, okay, son, you're a smart kid. You're a nice kid. Everyone likes you here. But you know you really shouldn't be here. Now you tell us, what's the first thing you're going to do when we let you out of the insane asylum? He says, I'm going to take my slingshot and I'm going to break every window in town. So, well, it looks like you want to stay here another 2 years. So they keep him another 2 years. So now he's 4 years in the joint. And they bring him again before the parole board. Now, you know, his kid's a really smart kid. He's getting very bored.
Yes.
And,
yes.
and he knows that if he talks about the slingshot, they won't let him out.
Right. Right.
So they ask him, what's the first thing you're going to do when we let you out of here? And here comes the off-color part. He says, well, there was this girl in high school I used to be sweet on. So the doctors look at each other. Oh, wow, he's talking about a girl. So they start filling out the release papers. They want to get this guy out of the insane asylum. And then what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to take her out to the nicest restaurant in town. Well, that sounds pretty honorable. And then I'm going to take her out to a movie. I said, well, he's taking her out on a date. He's 18, 19. No, actually, now he's 21 already, 24. And so they're filling out the release papers. And then he says, and then I'm going to take her to my house. So they put the pens down. And what are you going to do with her? So he says, well, we're going to start kissing. And, well, you know, I can't say this for a Christian crowd, but he gives a list of things he's going to do with her. And then he says, when we both get really hot under the collar and really excited, we take 2 slingshots and break every window. So you see, the slingshot is Islam, Allah. The windows, they could be Israel. They could be Manchester. You heard about this horrible explosion.
Yeah, of course.
It could be Paris. It could be Belgium. It could be Germany.
I was thinking about it.
And I have to tell you something. I love Trump, but I have to warn President Trump. We listen every day. My wife and I, she's retired now, but she's not retired because she works with me. And the Arabs are saying every day, oh, this President Trump, this United States, we're going to make a series of 9/11 type attacks. They're going to make 9/11 pale in comparison. And the United States is before a very major series of terrorist attacks.
Yes.
And one of the things I've been telling you all along is that the Muslims are cataloging the Jews for destruction in the United States and Canada and other Western countries. And if a Christian is married to a Jew, the Christian is going to be either killed or flee to Israel too, with a Jewish spouse. Do you understand why I'm forming a Judeo-Christian party? Because my party will be the biggest party in the Knesset when 10 million Jews and Christians flee from the U.S. and the West and come to Israel. So a lot of people think what I'm saying is crazy, but God says I'm going to bring in my people from all over the world, including the two-house theory people. A lot of people are going to be coming home to Israel. Anyone who seeks God's presence and God's face will find it here in the land of Israel. Jews, Christians, and others together.
So, if Trump, if Trump's talk is not just for show and it's for real, and he really does, and Rex Tillerson and so forth, push Israel to divide the land or even propose that, do you think God will act against Trump?
Yes, 9/11 attacks, and maybe even he will be impeached. Or, God forbid, I don't want to say God forbid, we need to pray for President Trump and his family that he's not impeached and that his health is not impaired and he's not killed. And that he complete his 4 years. And hopefully, if everything goes right, which I think it will, I'm an optimist, go for another 4 years.
Right. Well, you've had a Jew from Israel there asking us as Christians to pray for Trump. I think that's something that is also biblically commanded even in the New Testament. So I think that is a right thing, a great way to end this segment. And when we come back, we'll talk more about the Middle East. Until next time, shalom.